In the heart of Sydney's most exclusive suburb, a crash that should have been a simple traffic incident instead ignited one of the most explosive political scandals of 2025. In the stillness of dawn on July 26th, precisely at 5:30 a.m., a dazzling Tiffany blue Rolls-Royce Cullinan, valued at more than $1 million, crashed with a powerful impact. Cruising along New South Head Road in Rose Bay, a sleek black Mercedes van makes a striking impression. The driver of the luxury SUV was a 23-year-old woman named Yang Lanlan, completely unknown to the Australian public until that moment. Inside the Mercedes sat George Plasaras, a 52-year-old driver employed by the radio personality Kyle Sandilands. But what happened next defied all expectations. While Plasaras was cut from his vehicle after half an hour with devastating injuries, a broken spine, shattered ribs, two broken hips, two broken femurs, a ruptured spleen, and a torn diaphragm, Yang walked away unharmed. She tested positive for alcohol at the scene but refused formal breath analysis at the police station. Then came the twist that would transform a drunk driving case into an international mystery. She was granted bail without posting a single dollar. Yang Lanlan appeared to exist in a bubble of impossible wealth and deliberate invisibility. Though she possessed several Rolls-Royces and resided in a lavish penthouse overlooking Sydney's prestigious Vaucluse, she remained completely invisible online. No social media accounts, no LinkedIn profile, no registered businesses, and almost no trace in the digital world. In an era where privacy is nearly extinct, her total absence from the internet became the story itself. Chinese social media users nicknamed her Celestial Dragon Girl, a reference to the untouchable elite from Japanese manga. The intrigue only intensified as revelations about her way of life came to light. She owned not just the crashed Cullinan, but reportedly a second, unregistered white Rolls-Royce Ghost. From her penthouse apartment perched atop the tallest building, she savored stunning vistas of the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge and the world-famous Opera House. She wore designer clothes worth thousands of dollars and was accompanied by what appeared to be professional security. Among the most intriguing figures in Yang's orbit was her alleged personal bodyguard, identified as Yang Jianping. His background reads like an action movie script, entering Shaolin Temple at age 14 for martial arts training, joining the armed police in Henan province at 18, later transferring to Beijing and studying at the Chengdu Sports Institute. He claimed 16 national Sanda kickboxing championships, 3 world combat titles, and roles as captain of a special operations unit and chief instructor for national police competitions. His presence suggested Yang's security needs went far beyond what any ordinary socialite would require. Investigators uncovered a sophisticated web of asset concealment that suggested professional-level financial engineering. The Rolls-Royce is said to be officially listed under a Panama-registered entity known as Venture Global. Her mansion in Vaucluse was reportedly held through unnamed trusts, creating multiple layers between Yang and her assets. This structure is typical of high-net-worth individuals seeking to shield their wealth from scrutiny, but the level of sophistication suggested resources and expertise that few 23-year-olds could access independently. Perhaps the most explosive allegation was that Yang herself might not always be Yang. Observers noted significant differences between her appearance at the police station immediately after the crash and her later public appearances. The woman who appeared later wore a black Chanel couture outfit that seemed ill-fitting, shoulders too wide, sleeves too long, requiring an added belt to cinch a garment that should have been custom-tailored. Her facial features appeared different, her posture changed, and her movements were sharper. These observations fueled speculation that a carefully arranged stand-in was being used to shield the real Yang from public scrutiny. In 2017, a Chinese couple identified as Lan Jun, aged 26, and Yan Hairu, aged 29, appeared in Sydney's property records. They invested $10 million to acquire a luxurious 2-floor apartment within a prestigious Swiss hotel complex, then captured global attention in 2020 by triumphing in a heated auction, securing a Vaucluse mansion with a staggering record bid of $24.6 million. Their plan was to demolish the existing structure and build new, suggesting they valued the land more than the building. The similarities to Yang's situation were striking. Chinese naming traditions sometimes involve combining parents' surnames to create a child's name. Lan and Yan could theoretically become Yang Lanlan with an additional character. The ages of the couple suggested they were unlikely to be her biological parents, but it raised the possibility that she could be an officially unacknowledged child registered under their names as cover. As Yang's case unfolded in Australian courts, something remarkable happened in international trade. On August 5th, less than 2 weeks after the incident, China abruptly lifted a 15-year ban on Australian apple imports. 3 days later, Beijing extended a $2 billion loan to Australia's mining sector. These were massive diplomatic concessions that typically require months of negotiation, not days. The timing was impossible to ignore. Legal experts familiar with Australian norms pointed out that the level of secrecy surrounding Yang's identity was unprecedented for someone of her age and circumstances. Such protection is typically reserved for minors, sexual assault victims, key witnesses in organized crime cases, or matters touching directly on national security. The implication was clear. If Yang's case involved national security considerations, the question became why and for whom. While Australia received billions in trade concessions, ordinary Chinese citizens faced new financial burdens. The Chinese government announced a mandatory social insurance policy requiring all businesses to pay pension, medical, unemployment, work injury, and maternity contributions for employees. In a struggling economy, these costs threatened to close many small operations. The bitter irony wasn't lost on the public, who coined the sarcastic phrase, "pay social insurance to save Lanlan." This six-word slogan captured a deeper frustration with a system that demands sacrifices from its poorest while protecting its most connected. Online jokes turned bitter, with one popular quip claiming Yang's parents were humble farmers who happened to own almost all of China's farmland and a quarter of its cattle and horses. The sentiment was clear. Resources and influence used to protect Yang could have been spent easing the burdens of ordinary citizens. When Yang finally appeared in court on August 15th, she did so via video link, wearing a black suit and distinctive bucket hat. Over 100 members of the Chinese-Australian community gathered outside the courthouse, desperate for glimpses of the woman who had become a symbol of hidden power. Her lawyer stated she couldn't enter a plea because police indicated additional charges were coming. The hearing has been postponed until September 26th, and Yang will remain under the existing bail conditions. She was required to hand over her passport, abide by a stringent nighttime curfew at her penthouse, check in with the police tri-weekly, and avoid getting behind the wheel. What she didn't have to do was pay bail money, a detail that continued to fuel speculation about her protected status. Among those gathered outside the courthouse, speculation ran wild about Yang's true connections. Lots of Chinese leaders have their wealth stored in foreign countries, one observer told reporters. Though whispers suggest her relatives could be part of China's Politburo or Standing Committee, nothing has been confirmed yet. It remains purely speculative. Another added, "We believe her family background is at least Politburo member, maybe Standing Committee member. This is why we all focus on the news." The most provocative theory suggested a direct connection to China's highest leadership. Legal experts noted that only someone with extraordinary influence could secure the level of protection Yang appeared to enjoy. The combination of international trade concessions, unprecedented court secrecy, and elaborate asset concealment painted a picture of influence that reached the very top of the Chinese state. As Yang's case continues through the Australian legal system, the questions multiply rather than resolve. Her next court appearance is scheduled for September 26th, but the charges she faces, causing bodily harm by misconduct and refusing breath analysis, seem almost trivial compared to the international intrigue surrounding her identity. If convicted, she could face over 10 years in prison and be ordered to pay Plasaris's medical and vehicle costs. Yet the real stakes may be far higher than any individual criminal case. Yang Lanlan has become a symbol of privilege without accountability, wealth without transparency, and influence that can stretch across oceans to bend rules. Whether her story represents the protection of a connected elite or something even more significant remains to be seen. The Yang Lanlan scandal has exposed the fault lines between power and justice, between public interest and private influence. As her case moves forward, it raises fundamental questions about how the rule of law operates when vast resources and political connections come into play. The injured chauffeur George Plasaras remains in recovery, facing months of surgeries and rehabilitation. Meanwhile, the woman who put him there continues to live in luxury, protected by layers of legal and financial insulation that most defendants could never access. The Chinese public watches with a mixture of fascination and frustration, seeing in Yang's story a reflection of their own place in a system where outcomes depend more on who you are than what you've done. Australian authorities maintain their silence, bound by legal constraints that prevent them from explaining why this case is different from any other drunk driving incident. In the end, Yang Lanlan may be guilty of nothing more than driving under the influence and refusing a breath test. But the machinery that has moved to protect her tells a different story, one of influence networks that span continents and privilege systems that operate far from public view. Until the full truth emerges, her name will remain synonymous with the kind of power most can only imagine and the kind of protection money alone cannot buy. This is a scandal built on secrets, sustained by silence, and destined to reshape how we think about justice in an interconnected world. The crash may have lasted seconds, but its reverberations will be felt for years to come.